For half a decade, Peloton has been at the top of the fitness game, innovating the way of at-home fitness. The company has perfectly positioned itself for a jump to profitability when the pandemic struck, resulting in a 7-fold increase in its stock price. But when the demand suddenly jumped, Peloton wasn't ready to execute on tons of orders. This logistics issue, along with increased competition, management decisions, product quality concerns, and even a death of a child, has led Peloton into dangerous territory. Peloton's stock price has plummeted by 96%, the company laid off thousands of employees, changed the CEO, and issued recalls for millions of its original bikes. And in 2023, it even lost subscribers for the first time ever. We'll take a look at how Peloton rose to the top, what went wrong, and what could be the future. Peloton's origin story is quite interesting, and it all began in 2011 when John Foley, an executive at Barnes & Noble in New York, realized he had a problem. He was an avid cyclist, but with his job and family he had too little time to get the full experience of working out in a high-end studio cycling class. Besides that, he also noticed that his instructor-led workouts were much more rewarding than his self-led trips to the gym. And then the idea struck him: why wouldn't you just bring that experience to people's homes? So he pitched his colleague Tom Cortez and other co-founders to be, and in January 2012 Peloton Interactive was founded. They spent the rest of that year raising $400,000 in seed money and another $3.5 million in Series A, but they still had to make an actual product. And in 2013 the first prototype bike was designed and produced. But those early versions of the Peloton bike didn't look like something you'd find in a high-end fitness studio. The company's first instructor, Gene Sherman, even said they had this little tiny corner of the office that was sectioned off by black velvet curtains. There was a camera on a tripod sticking through a circle people literally cut out of the curtain. There was a janky broken bike in there. The instructor bike was like this rusted piece of crap. It was ridiculous. Despite that, Peloton sold its first bike on Kickstarter in 2013, and while his 4 co-founders were building the company, Foley was on the road pitching the idea to as many as 400 investors. He spent 3 years and got 400 no's. He said at the time, the worst part is that we are not talking about 400 individual pitches. A lot of people would want me to come back 4 or 5 times and have me meet more partners and pitch again. I would say that I've been turned down maybe 5 or 6,000 times. And although he received thousands of denials, that didn't stop him, because he knew he had a great idea, and so he was still able to scrap together funding from more than 200 angel investors. In April 2014, Peloton received $10.5 million in a Series B, which they used to make their first internet-connected stationary bike with a tablet, so it was ready for consumer use. Their bike started selling at a slow but steady pace, prompting them to open showrooms in shopping centers across the US for the people to test out their machines. And it didn't take long for the company to develop a cult following, thanks in large part to its roster of powerful instructors. When the company opened its own studio in New York City, owners of the company's $2,000 bike would make a pilgrimage to Manhattan in order to take a live class with their favorite instructor. And well, these sales quickly soared. The challenge then became getting the bikes in people's homes faster and more efficiently. And to meet the growing demand, the Peloton team essentially hired delivery men to bring the bikes to consumers. Riding high on success, Peloton expanded its product line, and in January 2018 they unveiled their second product, a $4,000 treadmill called the Peloton Tread, and added new types of classes like high-intensity training and yoga. To keep users engaged and get new customers to sign onto a digital subscription, no equipment required. And by 2019 the company had sold 577,000 bikes and treadmills and had over 500,000 paying subscribers. So on September 26, 2019, Peloton became a public company, raising $1.16 billion and valuing the company at $8.1 billion. And then the pandemic struck. While it proved detrimental for many companies, Peloton found itself perfectly positioned for exponential growth. Suddenly stuck inside, people turned to at-home fitness and found connection in Peloton's live workout classes. By May 2020, Peloton reported a 66% increase in sales and a 94% increase in subscribers. In September of that year, Peloton said that it had its first profitable quarter, with sales spiking 172% since the same quarter the year prior, and revenue rising to $607 million. It was a stellar year for Peloton that included introducing new higher-end versions of the bike and treadmill and inking a multi-year deal with Beyoncé. Peloton was on top of the world. Its stock price rose to $171 and its market cap hovered around $50 billion. And fortunately, the growth didn't stop. In early 2021, Peloton reported its first ever billion-dollar quarter, so fully pledged to manufacture tens of millions of treadmills and bikes to keep up with surging sales and spend $100 million to speed up deliveries hampered by port congestion. The success and growth didn't seem to be stopping, but Peloton's stock price is currently trading at around $6, down by 96% from its highs, with a market cap of just around $2 billion. So what happened? Well, honestly, while increasing sales is definitely a good thing, some companies are just not ready for such a rapid increase in demand. And in Peloton's case, this demand led to customers receiving their products months late, leading some to cancel orders. So to solve this, the company made a $100 million investment to speed up deliveries. But problems just continued piling up, as some customers began experiencing issues with their bikes where pedals snapped off mid-ride. And after 120 reports of bikes breaking and 16 reports of customers getting injured, the company issued a recall affecting 30,000 bikes. And honestly, you could see the mistakes in management's decisions before the pandemic, as in March 2019, Peloton was sued by the NMPA for using copyrighted music in their videos, seeking $150 million in damages. In September, the suit was amended and increased to $300 million, with Peloton eventually settling the lawsuit in February 2020, while the financial terms were not disclosed. On top of that, the company received bad publicity from bad product placements, as in 2 series a character has a heart attack and dies after riding a Peloton bike. Obviously, the company wasn't aware of how it would be used and quickly blamed the character's lifestyle for the death. Still, the stock price dropped by 11%. Even the fact that they were successful hurt them, as at least a dozen rivals including Equinox, Icon Health and Fitness, and Flywheel Sports began selling Peloton-style internet-connected bikes at cheaper prices. There was also the major question of quality of their products. In March of 2021, a child was fatally injured in an accident with a Peloton treadmill. Additional 40 other sustained injuries, including fractured bones. To combat this, the US Consumer Product Safety Commission requested a recall of the product, which is obviously an extremely bad thing for a growing business. Peloton initially rejected the request before it changed course and voluntarily recalled the tread. The model was also recalled due to the reports of the touchscreen display screws loosening, causing the screen to occasionally detach and fall off. And this wasn't the only nor the largest recall. In May 2023, the Consumer Product Safety Commission announced the recall of 2.2 million of the company's model PL01 exercise bikes after 35 reports of seat posts breaking, including 13 reports of injuries that included 1 fractured wrist, lacerations and bruising. And aside from those huge recalls, the company had another new problem. As I said, amid its success and increased demand in the pandemic, the company heavily invested in the production and shipping solutions, because they sincerely expected this growth to just continue. But as the nation continued to move toward reopening and returning to the gym and fitness studios, Peloton's business took a huge punch. The company's stock dropped 34% following its fiscal first quarter earnings in November, which included a dismal outlook for the months ahead. The CEO even admitted the company's mistake by saying, "It's clear that we underestimated the reopening impact on our company and the overall industry." Because of that, it was later reported that Peloton had temporarily paused production of its products, leaving the company with an excess of bikes and treadmills. To increase the distribution of its products, the company announced it would start selling its bikes and gear through Amazon. But nevertheless, on the same earnings call, Peloton disclosed it had lost $1.2 billion. With all these mounting problems, the company started laying off employees in an effort to save money. In February 2022, they laid off 2,800 employees, or around 20% of its workforce, to save $800 million annually. Even the CEO, who came up with the idea behind the company, John Foley, held himself accountable and said, "We've made missteps along the way. To meet market demand, we scaled our operations too rapidly, and we overinvested in certain areas of our business. We own this, I own this, and we're holding ourselves accountable." And so he stepped down from his position and was replaced by Barry McCarthy, the former CFO of Spotify and Netflix. However, this was not the end of layoffs. July brought 570 additional job cuts, and in August the company announced yet another round of layoffs, slashing roughly 800 customer service and distribution team members. And in October, the company announced it would cut additional 500 employees, many of whom work on the marketing team, meaning that altogether Peloton laid off over 5,200 employees in just a year. And now in 2023, Peloton has just a bit over 3,500 employees. But can Peloton survive? With the new CEO, things were thought to turn around, but there still seems to be a theme of underestimating the scale of their persisting problems. For example, in their latest earnings report, they stated that they lost 29,000 subscribers and higher than anticipated CF subscription churn. The slowdown exceeded their expectations through May and through the first 3 weeks of June. And remember the enormous recall affecting 2.2 million of their bikes. To date, they received approximately 750,000 requests for replacement seat posts, which was once again more than they expected. The cost of this recall substantially exceeded their initial expectations, leading to an additional accrual of $40 million this quarter for actual costs incurred as well as anticipated future recall-related expenses. But the CEO is still optimistic and said, now that the reset button has been pushed, the challenge ahead of us is this. Do we squander the opportunity in front of us, or do we engineer the great comeback story of the post-COVID era? I'm here for the comeback story, which is why the company is now working to expand its reach beyond the at-home fitness market. The company is focused on building partnerships with businesses including hotels, apartments, gyms, as well as education and healthcare facilities to offer its services and equipment. Employees at participating businesses will receive discounts on Peloton equipment and free use of Peloton app, which typically costs customers $24 per month and doesn't need to be used with Peloton equipment. What do you think? Can Peloton make a comeback or will it just slowly die out? Let me know down in the comments. And if you would like to support my channel, make sure to subscribe, and thanks for watching.